Welcome everyone to a Good Vibes gaming discussion, and it's been 5 years of the Nintendo Switch. Dear God, does time fly? And, you know, we were thinking, kind of snuck up on us, we should probably talk about these 5 years and what the Switch has kind of meant to us, and kind of look back on some of the big games that have released over that time, and kind of look at where Switch is at now. So I think all of us can generally agree that, yeah, Switch is a pretty good system. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. Somebody was saying that you guys were muted, and you were muted.
Well, it's a good thing we catch it now, rather.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Through.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did this live because you guys can do that.
Yeah, thanks for catching us, catching everybody.
Otherwise, we'll record this entire thing.
Oh, we would have been. Whew.
Yeah.
All right. How are their sound levels in comparison to mine? Make sure of that.
Hi.
Thank you all so much.
Yeah. Now we can't talk shit about Steve anymore. Damn.
Oh man. God.
All right. Just want to make sure you guys' the sound levels are good. John's a little quiet. Let me bring up John in that case. If it's only John that's a little quiet.
Hey, to be fair, Thomas, it's been a while since that's happened. We're definitely the tech issues are happening less frequently.
Oh, the reason it was like that, it usually isn't a problem, but the reason it was like that this time is because I streamed Kirby and it didn't want to have any of the noises from the desktop
Makes
come
sense.
up. I just forgot to turn it back on. All right, how's John now in comparison to all of us?
How am I? Let me. I'll talk a little bit. I'm perfect.
Of course you are, man. I mean, you're no Chad Valnut like my my Discord profile pic, but you're,
Well,
after Chad Valnut, you're pretty much. I mean, exactly, right?
All right, now I think we're good. Let's see if let's see if I can actually get as good of an intro as the first time. Probably not. All right. Welcome everyone to a Good Vibes gaming discussion, and happy birthday to the Nintendo Switch. 5 years old and still trucking. Like, dear God, it has just been an incredible set of 5 years, and we're like, oh crap, it's come out of nowhere. We need to talk about this and kind of reflect on these 5 years because it's been a little dominant. Like, it has outsold the Wii, which can't say I saw that one coming. Like, it seemed like a far-off dream.
Yeah,
most Nintendo consoles last 5 years. Like, that's the general life cycle for all of them. And they're saying now it's in the middle? Like, how long is this thing going to go on for?
Well, and that's an interesting point because I've said this before, but like, even though the Switch is 5 years old, it doesn't feel 5 years old to me, even though it is also dated tech. Like, I'm playing Horizon Forbidden West right now. It looks amazing, but then I go to play something like Smash, and I don't feel like I'm playing a system that's 5 years old. It's weird.
I literally just played the Kirby demo, and obviously there's some technical shortcomings, like far off characters or enemies, have the sort of short movement phases, like it's very stuttery. But the rest of the game runs pretty smooth, and it looks fantastic. So, like, you're obviously getting limitations. You're seeing the limitations now, but they almost don't matter because the games are still so much fun, and you can take them anywhere.
Yeah.
And the Wii U barely went beyond 4 years. That system had a hard little time. But I almost feel like that time of the Wii U felt like the duration was felt, whereas this 5 years has just gone by. And that's probably partly because of the pandemic. I was looking at some of the games that have released over this time, and 2019 doesn't feel that long ago, but 2019 had games like Dragon Quest XI's, which feels so recent, but that's half of its life cycle ago, which is nuts. But it's been just consistently great. Like, every year has had some kind of pillar of the system. Like, 2017 was Breath of the Wild, 2018 was Smash, 2019. I don't know what 2019 was. I should probably look this up. 2019 had stuff like Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Yeah.
That was massive for the system. Yeah.
Super Mario Maker 2, Link's Awakening.
Yeah,
wow.
totally.
Yeah.
It's
Animal Crossing for 2020, Metroid Dread for 2021.
Yeah, it just keeps going and going. And we're at this quite exciting time where I feel like we're getting the weirder stuff. The stuff we don't usually... we either never see the stuff on the system, or we don't see it until really late. Like stuff like Metroid, or Pokemon Snap, or WarioWare.
Right.
And I love that we have all these big games like 3D Mario, 3D Zelda, 2D Metroid, and then we're just getting the wackier stuff. It's just a really well-rounded lineup.
Well, speaking of wackier stuff, the Switch will always go down in history as the system that had Metroid Dread. Not just the fact that it's a Metroid game on the Switch in 2021, but it's Metroid Dread. Like, the Switch will always have that, and that's so cool.
Yeah. I guess, like, going back to launch day, back in 2017, March 3rd, what did you guys get with your system?
I got Breath of the Wild and Super Bomberman R. I think those are my 2 launch games, yeah.
I think I gave in to day one pressure a bit more, because I got Breath of the Wild, Bomberman R, 1-2 Switch, Snipper Clips, Fast RMX, and World of Goo. So quite a little...
Okay.
That's a lot more than I did. I went with the stuff that I was... Like, I considered Snipper Clips, but I didn't have anybody to co-op with at the time, so I...
Yeah.
1-2 Switch was a mistake, but yeah, what about you, Ash?
I camped outside of a local Best Buy and got it at the midnight launch, and I got the Breath of the Wild, the Legendary Edition that came with the Sheikah Slate, whatever it's called.
I still use
the Master
it.
Sword one. Yeah, no,
I got the Master Sword one. I still use this thing. It is amazing.
Yeah,
and my Master Sword is
using it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was still using it up to like a couple weeks ago, and the zipper finally broke on it. But that's the one I got. I didn't get the Master Sword edition, but I got the one with the case. I got Zelda, and I reviewed Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, and I reviewed Fast RMX, so I got those. And I also bought Snipper Clips. So those were the games I either bought or, got with the Switch to review.
And we're 5 years in. Breath of the Wild's getting its sequel. But returning to that game, I played around with it a bit last night. It still feels so fresh. A lot of open worlds are very of the pre-Breath of the Wild era still. Like, some of them are taking some elements, like free climbing. But just the open-air feel of being shoved into the world and being told, like, there's no markers, just make your own path. I think the only game that's really excelled at that has been Elden Ring. And that game came out 5 years after Breath of the Wild.
Right.
It still just feels important, even all this time later.
It does. A landmark, and that's the crazy thing about it, is it was such a landmark. And the funny thing is, I remember getting it on the Wii U as well. I played a little bit on the Wii U, but then finally got the Switch. It's like, okay, making the Switch.
Yeah.
And with Breath of the Wild in particular, like it's a 5-year-old game on hardware that was already considered dated when it was released. But I still frequently, despite the performance issues in areas like the Lost Woods and such, I still find that game to be breathtaking at times. Just visually, from the vistas, the color palette, it's a beautiful game, and it's 5 years old on dated tech. That's amazing to me. And it's a handheld game too.
When the time of day is in the right place, and you're standing over a cliff and just seeing the horizon and everything on screen at once, it can be beautiful.
Oh yeah. Can be absolutely gorgeous. It's actually crazy, like how I remember some of the games that came out the first year, or kind of forgot they came out the first year, and other ones I completely forgot were that old as well. Like, because 2017, like, there's a reason everybody's like, could 2022 be a sequel almost to 2017? Because, do we get Breath of the Wild 2? This year we got Super Mario Odyssey, we got Splatoon 2, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, ARMS, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and then games that everybody kind of forgot about, including Pokémon Tournament DX and Fire Emblem Warriors. I completely...
And not only...
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, it's just funny to me that we're getting a sequel to Fire Emblem Warriors 5 years later, like the sequel to everything else. I forgot that the original Fire Emblem Warriors 1 released on the Switch and 2 came out in 2017.
I forgot that Fire Emblem Warriors, in 2017. That's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was also Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I can't believe how fast time flies. And not only that, but the Switch had a bunch of great AAA releases and mainstream releases in its first year. But it also, the Switch's first year really kicked it off as a great indie system too, and not just stuff like Shovel Knight and Fast RMX, but Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap, Steam World Dig 2,
Golf Story,
but Snake Pass and Golf Story, Blaster Master Zero. Many, Graceful Explosion Machine, so many really cool indie games that really established early on that the Switch was going to be an indie powerhouse, which I love.
And that's
the
still
Switch distracted me a lot in 2017 because there was a lot of releases on other platforms that came out that year too. I'm talking like Horizon and Nier Automata and Resident Evil 7 and Cuphead and whatever else, like Hellblade. And I didn't end up playing a lot of those until the following year, just because I was so busy with the Switch. Like, there's just so much stuff.
It's It's wild. I mean, I'm surprised Ash didn't bring up Sonic Mania 2017.
Oh God, yeah!
Man, Sonic Mania. I still can't believe that happened in 2017. The fact that it's been 5 years, we still don't have a follow up, still hurts my heart. But and that was also our first and still so far only co-review, Derek.
Yeah.
We co-reviewed that together, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it was a good time.
One of the games I did to test the OLED was I sped up Sonic Mania and watched the intro, and that thing pops so.
I
bet it does. Yeah. That alone makes me want to get an OLED. But yeah, even stuff like Blossom Tales came out in 2017. That's wild. I remember playing that like it was yesterday.
Unfortunately, we're still seeing some issues from 2017, mainly the Joy-Con. Like that was one of the big things, is the Joy-Con issues. And I mean, fun fact, I went to play my Switch this morning to get Kirby downloaded. My left Joy-Con is completely dead. Like not battery dead, it is not responsive to the Switch at all. Like I put in another Joy-Con, it works just fine, but that left one that I got, and it was the second Joy-Con I got, because my second set just won't work. It's not even drift anymore. It's just, it doesn't register.
I've been fairly lucky with my Joy-Con. I've got one pair that drifted, but apart from that, I replaced it with another, and they've been fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've been remarkably lucky on the Joy-Con front. The only ones I've had die on me were the ones I modded, and that makes sense, or I had modded, I should say. But otherwise, my other Joy-Con, I've had minimal drift. They haven't died. My heart goes out to all the people who've suffered Joy-Con drift. I'm just not really one of them, fortunately. I'm not sure how, but I'm lucky.
Yeah, it's good.
I don't know why mine do, but thankfully I got the Smash Brothers Pro Controller, and that thing still runs like a dream. So
I love that thing. Yeah, same.
I waited. I had an original one, but I hated the D-pad just felt wrong for whatever reason. It just felt a little off, and they fixed that issue with the Switch version. Wish I had gotten the Xenoblade 2 version as well, but oh well.
And I still to this day, the Switch Pro Controller is one of my very favorite controllers of all time. I love that thing. It's so comfortable. The weight is right. The buttons click just right. The D-pad feels nice and squishy. I personally haven't had problems with the D-pad. I've been very lucky. I love that thing. It's such a great controller.
And the battery life too. Like the DualSense runs out battery quite fast. The Xbox Series X controller requires AA batteries. This thing though is just it's just a great, well-rounded controller. It's not quite the 80-hour battery life of the Wii U Pro controller, but what is? But still, it's remarkably good.
Yeah.
No, it spoiled me. Like I find myself having to recharge my DualSenses or Xbox controllers so often, or just get new batteries for the Xbox case, and it just the Switch Pro controller spoils me. It lasts forever. It's great.
Yeah. I guess we should be going quite rapid with these, but what was your favorite game of 2017?
I know I shocked a lot of people when I said, well, maybe not a lot of people, but I did prefer Xenoblade Chronicles 2 to Breath of the Wild. Like, I still kind of do. I appreciate Breath of the Wild for what it did, but Xenoblade Chronicles 2 struck me in a way that I just was not expecting. And, it's one of my favorite memories of the Switch that year because I got it a month early, very fortunately. Thank you, Nintendo, for that, because, dear God, I was still going up against the time because it's just so massive. But the other cool thing is that Chugga Conroy was able to get an early copy too. So I had that experience of the two of us basically going at the same rate, playing and trading notes and having somebody to react to, and both of us being, original Xenoblade fans. It just became a great experience. And those final couple chapters of that game, you are sucked into it. You cannot turn away from it. And I appreciated it from the story kind of factors in a lot for me with a game. If I can get me in a story-wise, I can kind of pull it in. I will say Breath of the Wild overall probably has the better gameplay, but Xenoblade's still a lot of fun, very entertaining on its own way. It just kind of won out over Breath of the Wild, but man, it was close.
Yeah, and Oh, sorry, go ahead, Ash.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, for me, I was kind of famously divided down the middle between Breath of the Wild and Horizon Zero Dawn, so take your pick. I think they both do things incredibly well that the other one doesn't. Also Sonic Mania. Like, any one of those three, take your pick, is my top for 2017. Like, it's pretty clear.
Yeah. When it came to Xenoblade 2, I remember no one really thought it would hit this year. Because it was announced It was announced in the same year, and Xenoblade has just famously been a game that's been long in development. And obviously this was prior to its announcement, but no one thought it'd hit the launch year, and it did, so that was wild. For me, I think Breath of the Wild is the one, though. It's just one of those games I can just return to. I've done everything in that game, and I can still just return to it, walk around, and have a good time. It's an open world game led by gameplay rather than story and objectives, and that's just such a unique thing that very few games do. And I love it.
Yeah, there is something special about just getting off the plateau and where do you go? Like, I headed to Kakariko because like I need some direction, but I'm still like checking things out on the way. It was, I don't know, it was something cool about just turning it, going for it. And I did the HUD that wasn't as active.
Oh, so yeah, the Pro HUD.
That's the Pro HUD was definitely the way to go for that. Just lose yourself in that game.
And one thing I particularly loved about Breath of the Wild and just kind of like playing that at the very beginning of the Switch's life cycle, it was one of those, actually I would say a very rare game that felt like we had returned to the pre-internet days of gaming, where there were secrets on secrets that hadn't been blown out on the very first day of the game's release. People were still discovering things and are still discovering things years later about that game, that it feels like we were talking to each other about, whoa, did you see this? Whoa, I didn't hear about that. Like that, like the playground talk of days gone by. And it just felt like that just genuinely secret-laden game that existed before the days of the internet. It was very cool.
Yeah. Kind of not opposite to that, but I think the hype surrounding it has definitely lessened over time, over these 5 years. Like, Breath of the Wild is still held up as this amazing title. Mario Odyssey, I have seen some pushback on that one, mainly because of the structure of the moons and just, you know, how easy it is and how kind of brain dead it is to get so many moons. Like, the gameplay is great. The capping mechanic, fantastic, but the reward system for Mario Odyssey definitely feels like the big point of contention for that game.
That game ends really strong.
Yes, it does.
Like, if you're reviewing it and you view the ending, I think you'll say like that is one of the best games I've ever played. But when it settles in, I think it's still one of the best platformers ever. But I think once you settle on it a bit, you probably do lose a bit of that luster. Like that final song, that finale sequence, it's all just tremendous. But I think I do agree that Odyssey maybe isn't to the caliber that I originally thought it was. And that's not to say it's bad. It's not to say it's not even great. I mean, I love that game. But I do think I'm not quite as in love as I was back in 2017.
I kind of agree. I pushed back on Odyssey a little earlier than some, I think. And I really, what it came down to me is I love the campaign. I love the main game. The ending is awesome, as you guys said. The main game is fantastic. But then you get to the post game, and I just feel like everything outside the Mushroom Kingdom was really disappointing for me. There was no rising level of difficulty. There was no difficulty curve at all, really, because because of the nature of the gameplay, the way the moons were hidden and scattered about. It just never really crescendoed into something meaningful for me in the post game, like so many others do, like the Galaxy games and Super Mario 3D World with Champions Road. Like, the Darker Side of the Moon, it was fine. I love the main game. But the post-game really fell apart for me, and I agree. I liked Odyssey, but in hindsight, I didn't necessarily love it. But I still like it a lot.
Yeah, it's still a great game. I think we can talk about 2017 forever, though. So shall we talk about...
We definitely could.
Yeah. So 2018... This is my favorite year. It was light for many people. I remember the general discussion was, like, where are the big first-party games? And I think if you ventured outside of the typical Nintendo releases, I think you had a really great lineup, especially of ports. But it was light. Ash, you got Mega Man 11, though, this year.
I did get Mega Man 11 this year, which was so exciting. And 4 years later, we don't have anything new from Mega Man. What are you doing, Capcom? Why are you like this? But yes.
I feel like every year gets a game that Ash really wanted, and then no sequel for God knows how long.
Yeah. But we also, I can't believe it's been 4 years now, or almost, since Octopath Traveler, Celeste.
Yeah.
Super Mario Party. These games all came out in 2018.
The Hollow Knight Switch port too. Like, Hollow Knight came out in 2017 for PC, but I think most of us played it on Switch.
Yeah, played it on Switch. This is Moonlighter, Messenger. Yeah.
Yeah, which I'm actually doing a preview for. Its prequel, Sea of Stars, and that'll be going up on the channel soon. But that was 4 years ago. But the one I have to mention, of course, the big one, the one I just love to death, Smash Bros. Ultimate came out at the end of 2018, so it's almost already been 4 years since Smash came out, and it doesn't, to me, feel like it's aged a day. I mean, we just got Sora several months ago now, and Switch will always go down in history as a system that let me pit Sora and Mega Man and Banjo-Kazooie against each other. That's just, you can't beat that, man.
That's kind of the incredible thing. We had 4 years of support for this game.
Yeah. Do you remember right before it came out, I think it's at the Game Awards, the night before Smash came out, they announced Joker before the game had released.
Yeah.
And I think that's still the biggest surprise. Like, getting Banjo in Smash, cool. I mean, but Joker was so out of nowhere. Like, it was bonkers.
Nowhere.
It was such a huge surprise.
Literally really nobody saw it coming.
Literally. And it set the tone for what we could expect from the DLC. Like, we didn't know at first. We knew DLC was coming. It wasn't going to be all first-party characters. What can we expect? And then bam, Joker. And suddenly, Persona 5? Like, the sky's the limit. Where are we going from here? And it ended up being an incredibly fun, hype-filled journey. One that I will always look back on so fondly.
Mm-hmm. It was always a game about bringing everyone back. It was like the big ultimate culmination of everything Smash. But by the end of it... Yeah, everyone's here. But by the end of it, we had more newcomers than any other game in the series with all the DLC.
Right.
It's crazy. And I remember when this was revealed, a lot of people, there's some pushback. Like, this is a Smash Wii U port. It's just, they're not doing much. But when you go back to Smash Wii U, I think you feel a drastic difference.
Night and day.
Plus, so much slower.
The best classic mode in the series.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think I agree with that. Yeah, and if you go back to Smash 4, I mean, Smash 4 will always be the game that gave me Mega Man, and I'll always love it for that. But the gameplay itself is so much slower than Ultimate, and Ultimate's so much more refined. Plus, nothing. So I think the main thing none of us saw coming after the whole "everyone is here" thing is just the fact that people are like, "Yeah, it's a Wii U port." No, it's got over 100 stages. It launched with over 100 stages that were remastered all the way back from 64, Melee, and Brawl. Like, nobody expected that. And I think at that point it was like, no, this is not a port. Mm-hmm. This is a new game.
I will say the only thing that I miss having is not so much the trophies. I wish the spirits would just have a little blurb about what the heck these characters are. That history aspect of Smash Brothers I missed. Like, obviously that's a lot of writing to do, but that would have been the culmination of the celebration aspect of Smash Brothers and the history of these characters. Like, because there's a lot of pools that I don't know that I would love to know more about, and I don't know.
I love all the cheeky writing. There's always a lot of fun cheeky writing in the trophy descriptions and just little references, and I agree. I do miss that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's what kind of made me a big Nintendo fan, was just going deep into Melee's trophies and seeing all this history that I missed out on. And not only did I miss out on it, but I wanted to catch up on it. That was the big part of it.
Right.
I think Smash definitely made me a big Nintendo fan. I wouldn't have played Earthbound if it weren't for NES. I wouldn't have played... I didn't play Metroid before playing as Samus.
I wouldn't have played Fire Emblem.
Wow.
Like, I just distinctly remember picking up the original Fire Emblem on GBA because of Melee. Like, this is the series. I want to see what this is all about. And, fell in love with it.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Yeah. I will take this opportunity to stan Mario Tennis Aces.
I was going to ask you about that
2018.
one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It always gets forgotten about. No one talks about it anymore. But I think it's legitimately a brilliant game. It's definitely light on content. There's definitely not that many courts. There's definitely the character selection's great actually now. There's Pauline. There's all these other ones in there. But just the core gameplay. It's like a fighting game mixed with sports, and I can just play it for hours. And it's one of my 100-hour plus Switch games at this point.
Wow.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I will also give highlight to Super Mario Party because it was the mark of like, okay, they're getting closer, and as we saw with Superstars, they did it. They pulled it off. Would love more, maps and whatnot. But hey, our hope that they were maybe figuring it out actually came true. So that was a nice bit of, at least the confirmation in the background. The mini games were fun, and we already mentioned Octopath Traveler, and that was fantastic. But dear God, I will never forget that super boss that I will never beat.
Because I didn't bother with that. Yeah,
it's the only way you have it all kind of come together. But for those who have not played Octopath Traveler, in order to get the true ending, it's really not. It's the one thing to see how all these characters kind of fit together in a way. You have to do a gauntlet of 8 boss battles before getting to the super boss itself. You die to the super boss, you're fighting all of 8 of them again. All 8 of those bosses again. And I finally got to the second phase of that fight, died to it, realizing, oh crap, the other 4 characters that I've never really used, I did not have in my main party, are necessary too. I got to level all 8 characters if I want to do this. And at that point, I had refought those 8 boss battles 4 or 5 times because I was just trying to get that footage.
No.
I was
so
done.
Much grinding in that game already. Like, I love the game. It's an incredible soundtrack, but
ridiculous.
There's so much grinding in that game.
Mm-hmm.
One game I do want to shout out before we move on is one of my favorite indie games ever came out this year, and that's Just Shapes and Beats, which I've talked about plenty. I don't need to go into it, but if you haven't played Just Shapes and Beats, it's like a rhythm bullet hell shoot 'em up in a way. It's really cool, and you should check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really we mentioned Celeste, but I mean, that's Celeste's Game of the Year territory.
Celeste is incredible. Yeah,
it's also always cool just to play 360 games on a handheld. Like Skyrim was cool in the first year. Dark Souls this year was crazy to play on the go. And we also like Okami HD, like the definitive version of Okami in the palm of your hands. That was really, really cool.
That was amazing. Yeah. And the touchscreen implementation in the Okami switchboard is great too. So whether you're playing in handheld or on TV mode, you're playing. Yeah, like you said, John, I agree. It's the definitive version of the game, despite not being 4K. The HD Rumble implementation, like the pitter patter of Amy's like running around her paws, it's so satisfying, and you don't get that in quite the same way on other platforms.
Yeah. So 2018 was great. 2019, I feel like, is a rival for 2017. I think there's some really interesting releases this year.
Yeah,
not necessarily of the highest caliber of like 3D Zelda, 3D Mario. Just really interesting ones. So, Derrick, what shouts out to you when you think 2019?
Oh, the 2 big ones for me are absolutely Fire Emblem 3 Houses and Luigi's Mansion 3. Those just stand out as fantastic games. 3, I still haven't done everything in 3 Houses because there's so much game there. There's 3 separate story outcomes, and there's so much to experience in there. And Luigi's Mansion 3 is a wonderful combination of what worked between 1 and 2, and it's just
gorgeous.
A lot of fun.
It's still like the best looking game on the system.
Looks so good.
It's a great looking game. Yeah. I mean, I think we can all agree though. The big tentpole release for 2019 was Bubsy Paws on Fire.
Oh yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Clearly, Luigi's Mansion. What? Yeah.
For some reason, that's not on this list.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah. I know. No, it's at the very end. I found it at the very end. That's why I mentioned it. This is a weird year for me because I am not the biggest Luigi's Mansion guy, and I'm not the biggest Fire Emblem guy. I like them both, but I don't love them. So for me, Luigi's Mansion 3 and Fire Emblem 3 Houses, though exciting, didn't light up the year for me. And I was a little disappointed by both the Link's Awakening remake and Yoshi's Crafted World.
You know what? I will put it out there. I would put it out there as well. Link's Awakening, the Switch version, was the first time I played the entire way through Link's Awakening. Oh, wow. I kind of felt cold after it. I just didn't. I don't know why. Yeah. I know it's functionally a better version than the original, and I haven't played the original, so I can't fully say. But I was left weirdly cold by it. I don't know why. It still feels weird to me that I feel that way, but I can't help it.
Yeah. I was so excited for it because Link's Awakening is one of my favorite Zelda games, and other than not having to pause all the time and switch the their A and B buttons out like you do in the Game Boy versions, everything else about the original I prefer, and maybe that's just nostalgia glasses, but I prefer the original soundtrack. I feel like the original had a kind of a darker, weirder tone to it than the remake does. I don't know, just the remake's good, but it didn't quite land with me. And same with Yoshi's Crafted World. I will defend Woolly World to the day I die. Great. I think it's amazing. Yeah. And Crafted World was just such a...
It was blah.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad.
It's not bad. There's some fun ideas in there, but it's just, as you said, blah.
I don't think about this game. This game never comes to my mind.
No. It might still be the 3rd best Yoshi game, though.
Yeah. Yeah,
that might
I
be.
guess that's fair.
But
this year for me gave me one that I play a lot, and that's Tetris 99. This is just this evergreen game for me that I can always come back to, and they're still updating it. Like every time a major game comes out, there's like a brand new theme. You can still find matches immediately. They've added a bunch of modes since then. This is just one of my favorite Switch games.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Derrick, one I know that you personally love, although unfortunately the Switch version was not great, at least it's to start, was Bloodstained. Bloodstained came out in 2019.
Yeah.
Wasn't great on Switch for quite a while. It is now, I think. It's gotten a lot better, but Bloodstained was great.
Oh, Bloodstained was great. And then you got, I think Curse of the Moon was out the year before, so like that year, and that's fantastic as well. So yeah, it's just a really good time. And you want to talk about those type of Kickstarter teams really pulling off Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair.
That's
like,
what I
did not care about the
What
original Yooka-Laylee, but
surprise.
Impossible Lair is so freaking good.
Yeah,
it cannot be like overstated just how fantastic Impossible Lair is, and it was one of the best surprises of the year for me. I think I ended up ranking it as my number 2 favorite game of 2019. It was just that good. And another really cool surprise for 2019 was that we got the Collection of Mana, which localized Seiken Densetsu 3 for the first time as Trials of Mana.
Amazing.
And that was really cool. Yeah. So that was a really nice thing. Yeah.
I enjoyed the remake that came out later, but I think I just prefer the raw pixel version of Trials of Mana.
Sure.
Yeah. There's
I like them both. Yeah.
They have their own advantages. Speaking of indies, great year for indies. This was the year of Untitled Goose Game.
Oh yeah.
Sure was. And I guess new Super Lucky's Tale, which is a great game.
Also for indies, an independent developer made a Zelda game.
Yeah.
Cadence of Hyrule. That's whack.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it is whack.
That is wild. I don't think I've ever heard you say whack, John.
I don't think I've said whack before.
Also, Derrick, one of a game that we both loved came out, Blaster Master Zero 2, which is still my favorite in the trilogy, I think, even though I love 3 as well. But one indie game I do have to shout out before we move on is one of my favorites, again, this year, Sayonara Wild Hearts. What a game! Anyone who hasn't played that, just take my word for it. Go play it. It's amazing. But I adored that game. And yeah, so like 2019, while not like the most standout year for me, was a year of a lot of really cool surprises.
I know the surprises were definitely it, because there's a couple games we did not talk about here that I feel like need to be highlighted.
There's some big ones still. Yeah.
One, Ori and the Blind Forest getting ported to Switch.
Xbox Game Studios on Switch.
That's huge in and of itself.
Yeah.
Then 2 more Nintendo games that are well worth talking about. I have not played this one myself. Astral Chain. I still need to play it, but Astral Chain is definitely great. And then freaking Ring Fit Adventure.
Pokemon, right? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, and Pokemon this year.
Pokemon Sword and Shield. Yeah, Pokemon Sword and Shield was that year too.
Yeah.
2019, John's not wrong. It's not the big titles, but still some really good ones.
And 2 Dragon Quests as well. Not only Dragon Quest XI S, but also Dragon Quest Builders 2 came out this year.
Oh my god, yeah.
I forgot that Dragon Quest XI was this year, and that I've mentioned before would go on to become one of my very favorite JRPGs of all time.
Oh yeah.
What a game.
The Switch port's fantastic.
Yeah, it's the best version. I mean, they ported this version to other systems. They didn't upgrade the graphics, but they knew that this was the best version, and that is a best game of all time for me.
It's fantastic,
Me too.
And just playing on a handheld is brilliant too.
Yeah, no, and it has so much content too. And it is easily the best version of one of the best games of all time. And even though it was disappointing in some ways compared to the original, I do want to shout out Super Mario Maker 2, because that is a game that I still go back to today. I have some creators that I follow who just make regular Mario style levels, and it's just always fun to go back to and just play a few levels and just sit down for a bit and play a few levels. It's just I keep going back to it despite some of the shortcomings compared to the original.
I think we often criticize this game for its lack of updates, but looking at the updates they did give us, we had like a full-on Zelda update, like proper, not just a functional costume, but one that gave us the bow and arrow and the bombs and the sword, and we had like a world maker. There was some really good stuff. Eventually, it took a while to get there, but there was some really good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
2020.
This was a light year.
It was a light year, but understandably a light year.
Yeah, understandably.
I mean, obviously the biggest game one of the year, and I think second biggest on the Switch now. I can't remember exactly, but
just behind Mario Kart.
Yeah, just behind Mario Kart. Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Yeah, this was a phenomenon. I don't think we'll ever see an Animal Crossing game like this ever again. Yeah. It was the timing. Everyone, no matter if they played games dedicatedly or if they'd never picked up a system before, everyone seemed to just be buying and playing Animal Crossing. My social feed was full of it. Even going towards people who don't play games, like on Facebook, people were posting about this. My family were playing this game. It was a crazy time.
Yeah. Animal Crossing kind of passed me by personally.
Oh, same here.
I feel like I've kind of had my fill of Animal Crossing ever since New Leaf on 3DS. But it was absolutely a phenomenon. But the one that stands out for me, or one of the ones that stands out for me, and I know people get really testy about Paper Mario, but I loved the Origami King.
Origami King is great. It is
great.
There are some legitimately shocking moments in that game that you would not expect in a Paper Mario game.
And not only that, and that soundtrack, you guys, one of the best. Like, what a soundtrack. I didn't love the battle system. It was fine, but everything around that was just, I think, peak Paper Mario. Like, right up there with Thousand Year Door. I love the Origami King.
Honestly,
everything but the battle system.
I think they need to maybe take a page out of Super Paper Mario and just turn the next Paper Mario into a full-on adventure game with just that same amount of dialogue, you know?
Yeah, they don't want to. They seem to not want it to be an RPG, but they're still keeping turn-based combat. So why are they in that middle ground, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm excited for what they do next, though, because Color Splash had a good foundation, but it was sort of bogged down by that same sort of sticker style elements.
Yeah.
Origami King took that forward. But we also, like, this year, we're getting a brand new Mario Strikers, and if Nintendo are okay with that kind of crazy style for Mario again, maybe they're more lenient with what they can do for spin-offs.
Maybe?
I hope
it seems like a sign.
I hope so.
A Paper Mario game with the charm of the Origami King and the gameplay or the battles of the 64 and Thousand Year Door, I feel like could just be perfection. I hope. We'll see. Another one I want to highlight is, I've said this before, I'm a big fan of Xenoblade 1 over Xenoblade 2, and we got the definitive edition of Xenoblade Chronicles, and I played the hell out of this. I still like Xenoblade 2, but I love Xenoblade 1, and just replaying it with the remastered soundtrack and the better, the high def visuals. I just love that game so much, and it was so great to revisit. And just the best version of an amazing game.
We were all expecting a port of Xenoblade X, because we thought that'd be easy. It's a Wii U game, it's already HD, but instead they completely went and... I don't want to say remake, more like a remake hybrid remaster of the first game. The faces no longer look like they're mushed into...
Right.
I don't know what to call it. They look great now is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. And hey, kind of works out that you can play this before Xenoblade 3 now.
Yeah, makes sense. It all makes sense in hindsight.
Another huge one for Ash. Super Mario Brothers 35.
I knew that was coming.
My heart.
I mean,
John, you and me both. I loved it so much, and it still hasn't been replaced. I'm sorry, Pac-Man 99 ain't it?
Nobody talks about Pac-Man 99.
I liked it in the moment, but no, I'm still thinking about Mario 35. I'm never deleting it from my Switch. It's always going to be
there. Me neither. And it was a rare battle royale style game that I was really damn good at because it was a platformer. And I had so much fun when I didn't have a lot of time to really dig into a game. Just sit down, play a couple of matches, and then go do what I had to do. It was just the ultimate, sit down for 15 minutes comfort game. And I miss it so much. But as we know, Nintendo giveth and Nintendo taketh away, right?
I mean, that was kind of the theme of this year with 3D All-Stars.
Right, the 3D All-Stars also came out.
3D All-Stars was good for what it was. I think expectations were through the roof because there was a recent PC port of Mario 64 with all this widescreen and changed models. And then what we got was just a raw 64 version. And it was a Shindo, like an English Shindo, so that was kind of cool. But people obviously wanted like the regular version for speedruns and things. But we got like a proper HD widescreen Sunshine. We got which by the way, Sunshine got updated with GameCube controls down the line.
Yeah.
Right, it did, which is really cool.
Yeah, and then Galaxy, which we like playing Galaxy on a handheld is cool. Using the touchscreen is a bit finicky, but bringing that game on the go is a really cool thing to do. I enjoyed this release, but then of course they take it away.
Yeah. Still very odd that they didn't have Galaxy 2 in there, but oh well.
Yeah. This was a good year for you, Ash, because you also got Streets of Rage.
Yeah, I was going to say, Derrick and I both adored
Streets of Rage 4 is so good.
And that is a game I still go back to regularly. It's one of the best beat-em-ups of all time, in my opinion. It is such a good game, and a very rare example, I would say, of a modern reboot of a retro series that really, the developers really understood what made Streets of Rage tick back in the day. And it's everything that made Streets of Rage great, but even better in the modern age. And I remember being skeptical, right, Derrick? You and I both saw screenshots.
It looked weird at first.
I don't know about the art style. And then we saw it in motion. We're like, oh my God, this works.
Yeah. I remember doing that demo with you, and we were just like, we didn't want to leave the booth.
It was so good. And another game that I want to mention that I feel people have kind of soured on, but I loved it. And it's the only Warriors game I've ever 100%. Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. I get it. The performance is terrible. The frame rate dips into like the 10s sometimes.
It's about what you'd expect from a Warriors game. That doesn't bother me. I think they set expectations differently with the setup for the story.
Yeah, the story did bother me. I feel like it didn't feel earned, and I didn't love it. I loved it up until the ending. I was like, cool, it's nice to see, this war from a different perspective. I wanted to see it be sad. I wanted like that Halo Reach kind of ending. You know where it's going, it's inevitable.
And that's what she had Breath of the Wild for, though.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
True, but to see it from that perspective and get that gut punch, I don't know. It would have been kind of cool to have that. I mean, I think it definitely what they do with Age of Calamity works much better with Fire Emblem Three Hopes, because there's already 3 different takes on the same amount of the same story, how it diverges.
I guess I kind of took the opposite tack, because I like the whole what if thing that they did with it. It actually made me feel kind of like it was like heartwarming to me, because it's like, oh, it's nice to think that maybe in a different universe they made it, even though it's not like the main timeline. It was kind of like a cool, heartwarming what if story. But for me, I think what really just got me into it more than the story or anything is just how they streamlined a lot of the grinding.
That was very nice.
Yeah, there was just no bloat. Yeah.
This is also the turn of Warriors games where they started really feeling like they came from the franchise. Like the first Hyrule Warriors was Dynasty Warriors Zelda. This felt like Breath of the Wild. Like, it looked like Breath of the Wild. The environments looked like they're from that game. And then later they'll do like Persona 5 Strikers, which felt like Persona 5. And I guess before that we had Dragon Quest Heroes, but this one, it just felt right. It felt like they nailed the style. The grass looked like it does in Breath of the Wild. It was just a really cool adaptation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Another smaller game that I feel like I need to shout out, because it just shocked me, because I never thought I'd be into this type of genre. Sakuna of Rice and Ruin.
That sold over 1 million units.
Yeah, it was kind of a surprise hit of all things, but great characters, fun world, great 2D action, and I liked how involved the rice growing was. Like, it really taught me what it takes to grow rice in that game, and it shocked me when it didn't have the whole grid-based system. It's like, no, you gotta plant it on your own, and then you gradually get better, and they give you systems to make it a little bit more even and kind of work off that and get your harvest better. And that harvest, the better your harvest, the stronger your character became. It's such a perfect loop of a game, and I adored it. It was so much fun.
Yeah, this was definitely a light year, but a lot of the smaller stuff carried it. I want to shout out Bug Fables. If you like Origami King,
I still need to play that. I've heard so many good things about it.
It's just like 64 and Thousand Year Door. So if you want that game, you've got it. It's right here. Also want to shout out Doom 64. That was a really cool release.
Oh, that came out this year. Yeah.
Yeah, and that never been re-released. We had all the other Dooms, but this one was just lost in N64 limbo, and it was so cool to see it remastered.
Yeah, and I'll also shout out Clubhouse Games, which it's kind of a quirky release, and it's funny because for me and my wife, it's become the Ludo collection. It's just we just go back and play Ludo all the time. Even to this day, we play so much Ludo, and we mostly ignore the other 50 games, even though they're perfectly fun. But yeah, there's that, and then also, as Shellshock Prime mentions in our live audience chat right now, Mega Man Zero and ZX Legacy Collection. I didn't mention the other Mega Man collections because they were on, they had to be ported to Switch after they were already on other consoles. But Zeroes and ZX Legacy Collection came out on all consoles, day and date with each other, and it is one of the best Mega Man collections they've ever done. It was amazing ports, a great collection of games, great extra features. I loved it. I reviewed it. It was just a really good, solid Mega Man collection for 2020.
Quickly, because we get torn apart if we forget this. Hades came out this year.
I was getting ready to mention that one.
Go ahead, you take it.
Have you played Hades, John?
I did. I missed it on Switch, but I got it on Game Pass. And I'm not usually a roguelike guy, but I was into this. This was really good.
The implementation of the story and the way the roguelike element tied into that is phenomenal. Did you get the ending?
I didn't finish Hades. I got relatively far into it, but I've not finished.
I did the 10 times that you have to beat in order to see the ending. It keeps going, but because there's even more stuff. But it is shocking how much dialogue is in that game and how I never once heard a repeat bit of dialogue. I couldn't believe it. It is so addictive. Real quick shout out before we move on to 2021. If you haven't checked out Spiritfarer yet, do so. It is such a cozy yet heartbreaking game. Again, a genre I don't really get into. It's sort of more life simish where you're kind of exploring the world, completing these tasks for these people who need to move on to the other side. And there's no combat. It's just building things up, and it's feel good, but it's also learning about the lives of these people hurts sometimes with where they go. And I have not finished it. I want to go back, but they also have added new characters to it. So I want to go back and fully play it. But man, it is so good.
You love that game, Derek. You kept talking about it, and I still would
stuck
like to
with
play.
me.
You mentioned how emotionally, I know. There are a couple more things I want to shout out. One, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory came out toward the end of this year, and I loved it. It's basically Theater Rhythm Kingdom Hearts with slightly different mechanics, and I still played the hell out of this game. It was great, and leave it to Nomura and the Kingdom Hearts series to advance the story of Kingdom Hearts in a rhythm game.
Of course.
Right? And there was also the Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC, which even though I didn't play Sword and Shield, I paid attention to the chatter around it, and it seemed like the DLC kind of turned opinions around on it to a degree. Like there was a lot of negative.
It gave you an idea of kind of where they were going.
Involved.
Yeah.
It evolved.
Yeah.
Things.
So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, I have to correct myself earlier. The classic Mega Man collections did in fact not come out day and date with Switch. That was my mistake. Thank you for the reminder, Shellshock Prime. I super appreciate it.
All right, I'll be done with 2020 then in that case. Or
I think we can move on.
Okay, 2021 for me, it may not be the best year, but it is the coolest year. There's so much cool stuff that came out this time. Like Famicom Detective Club, like what?
Yeah.
What? Where did that come from?
I still need to go back and play that because it's still so cool that character that I saw randomly in Melee is actually available now.
I've always been so curious about this franchise. It got remastered on Super Famicom, but it's mostly just a Famicom game. But there was no localization outside of fan translations, and one day they remade it by majors and they localized it. That was such a cool release.
Yeah.
And then we also got things like new Pokemon Snap. We've been begging for that game since the first Pokemon Snap.
Pretty much.
Right?
We got that. We got the return of Cruisin' Blast.
Yeah.
On consoles.
Cruisin' Blast. Such a good game. I love that game to death. And the Switch port is great. It's just fun, and it looks great. It runs really well. Cruisin' Blast is just it's a blast.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Brandon's not here, but he would murder us if we didn't mention Monster Hunter Rise.
Of course,
Monster Hunter Rise
also came out,
but also Monster Hunter Stories 2, which
and Stories 2
was good and looked good enough and as addictive enough that got Amy to play Monster Hunter.
Wow.
It's like she tried the demo and she got really into it. So I think Monster Hunter Stories 2 served as almost a gateway to at least that side of the Monster Hunter fandom. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right.
I was really into Stories 1, and I hadn't really played Monster Hunter much before that, and that kind of got me interested in the rest of them as well. So Stories is a great way to get in. There was a sequel to one of the best DS games this year.
Yes.
And it came out of nowhere, and a lot of people didn't pay attention to it, but Neo The World Ends With You came out in 2021.
Yep.
That was a really out of nowhere.
I wish I had
brilliant
time
surprise.
for it.
I need to play it because I was so excited for it. I was so ready for it. And the whole pre-order hullabaloo just completely wiped me out. And then I just had to switch focus to another amazing out of nowhere release this year, The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles.
Yes.
Phenomenal. This was the year of just getting games out of nowhere that you were like always wanted, but somehow got. That incredible.
What a game.
They have to be played together because they just tie into each other so much. They're so good. They're so good.
Yeah, my wife and I are still playing it. We're still working on the second game. We're in the third case. And this, God, I love the Ace Attorney series so much. And these are two of the best Ace Attorney games yet. And even though they're obviously not new, they were released like years ago in Japan. But I'm so glad we finally got them. We also got something that unfortunately was a massive disappointment for me, other than the soundtrack. And that is Bravely Default 2. I wanted to be so excited for this game. You all know how much I love Bravely Default, and especially Bravely Second. I've talked forever about that. I was so excited to have a Bravely game on the big screen, and it just took several steps back in terms of gameplay for me, and story, really. The story felt generic. The gameplay took several steps back from Second, and the character designs were just kind of forgettable. But the soundtrack, predictably, is amazing. But it just ended up being a big disappointment for me, unfortunately.
That's a shame.
I wasn't massive on this either. It was received pretty well. Like, people did like this game. There was good reviews, but I wasn't huge.
Like, it's not bad or anything. It's just very fine. It's just
compared to what came before, it was a little bit.
Yeah.
But Monkey Ball Banana Mania came out this year.
Yeah.
And there's elements I didn't love. Like, some of the party games weren't quite right, but still, they had not made a game this good since Monkey Ball 2. Of course, it's a remake of 1 and 2, but they're on the right track again. It feels like they know what they're doing now. And just the main game is legitimately great. It's fun. It's great to play. I'm happy this franchise can be good again.
Yeah.
And you can play as a Sega Saturn. You have to pay for it. You can play as a Sega Saturn.
That is true.
Come on, you can't beat that. Yeah.
I do wonder, John. You are a major proponent of Mario Tennis. Are you as much of one for Mario Golf Super Rush?
No. I wanted to be. I was excited for this game. Then I played it, and I just had no incentive to go back. A big part of that, I think, was the online when it launched. It didn't have any ranking, so you just played against strangers. And a lot of them would quit if they were behind, so you got lots of comm errors and things. It wasn't very well done. And I don't think it looked like it was fun to run around on golf courses, but in reality, I don't think it was as great as it could have been. So unfortunately, this was a disappointment for me.
That's a shame.
Yeah. Mario Golf kind of passed me by. I was really excited for the speed golf mode, and I tried it, and it was cool, but I didn't need to go back to it. Another kind of surprising thing that we got this year, though, that kind of came out of nowhere was WarioWare. We got a new WarioWare game in 2021. Which
it was good.
It was a good WarioWare game too. I felt some of the multiplayer fell short, especially compared to games like Mega Party games on the GameCube. But the single player was great, and I still enjoy it.
Co-op through the story mode, I did it with Amy, and we had a blast.
This can be really fun, And this was the first proper WarioWare since the Wii, since 2007. We've had other ones, like WarioWare Gold, but that's more of a compilation. Game & Wario's not a proper WarioWare. But this just sort of took us back to something we hadn't seen for over a decade, and that was great. I really enjoyed this. I haven't really come back to it much. I don't think it has the staying power of like smooth moves or Mega Party games, but it was really fun in the moment.
Absolutely. And what did have staying power, though, I played a lot of this and could easily go back to it any time. Mario Party Superstars.
Yeah, I was playing it today.
Yeah, I feel like I could, you add in new worlds, new boards, bam, I'm back in there because I want to try out that new board and play with friends again.
Please give us DLC. Please give us DLC. It's the best Mario Party game they've released to my mind since Mario Party 6, if I'm being completely honest. And it's been a long time for me. But either way, it's the best Mario Party game in years. I think most people can agree on that.
Yeah, it's more than just a compilation. The pacing's great. You can speed it up so it's really fast. It feels good.
The fact that they kept a lot of the gimmicks that made them unique for that Mario Party was impressive. They didn't kind of generalize it. They just kept those things, and it just, I don't know, just made it stand out all that much more.
Yeah. I'll quickly shout out 2 games. I know there's a big one we haven't talked about, but two cool games that came out this year. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World got re-released.
Finally,
Yeah, on
which is really cool.
physically too. So it's safe.
Yeah, we're not losing that. We're never losing that baby again.
And we had a
Ghosts
good
and
time
Goblins-
playing online too.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Ghosts and
online
Goblins
was good.
Resurrection also came out. That was one of the first Ghosts and Goblins sequel, I think, since the PSP. I think that's
so.
the last one before that.
I need to try it. I still haven't had a chance to play it.
It's stupidly hard, but it's also stupidly rewarding. I
mean,
quite liked it.
That's Ghosts and Goblins for you.
Yeah.
Although,
Right.
speaking of compilations, we got the Castlevania Advance Collection.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
Yes.
That gives me hope for a DS collection. But even those
I know.
the
It's
three
gotta be
Advance
coming.
games are so freaking good.
Yeah.
I know Steve will be heartbroken if we don't at least shout out No More Heroes 3. That
I haven't
also
got to
came
try
out
it
this year.
myself, but it's cool
Yeah,
it
I
came
haven't
out.
either.
And Shin Megami
Right.
Tensei 5.
Yes.
I haven't finished it, but I was really into it for a while. I unfortunately got distracted by other games, but the flow of just constantly merging your monsters and it felt really rewarding and fun. And it was difficult, but in a way that, like, a lot of RPGs, I think you sort of mash the A button and get your way through battles. You can't do that with this one.
No.
And being more involved makes it really engaging. I had a great time with it.
Yeah, I've talked with friends that are really into the SMT series, and they enjoyed it. They felt like the story was a little weaker than previous games.
Yeah,
So they
the story definitely doesn't come to mind.
yeah, it's
Right.
Yeah.
not much of a story game.
One game that I do want to shout out that feels like it should have been much bigger considering the series it comes from, but feels like it was ultimately a drop in the bucket was Skyward Sword HD. And this
Yeah.
was a game that kind of surprised me because I used to consider Skyward Sword one of my, least favorite 3D Zeldas. And it's still not my favorite, but this game pulled me back in a way that I didn't expect it to. And playing Skyward Sword a decade on with incredibly smooth 60 FPS performance,
Yeah,
like
it's
it's
nice.
a beautiful game. The Switch finally does for Skyward Sword's art style what the Wii could never do, and I feel like this is the way the game was always meant to look. And I gotta say, I really loved it. Skyward Sword has aged better than I expected. It still has elements that I don't like the world design, the segmented world design. I hate that. Skyloft is fine, but not the best town that Zelda's ever had. But it's got still and I know Derrick, you agree with me on this. It's still got some of the best story and music in any Zelda game ever.
Oh, absolutely.
And
The
characters.
faster text is great too.
Yeah.
You can just
The
mash your
faster
way
text.
through. No need to.
Yeah.
I've not
Listen
had
to
the
everything.
opportunity to try HD yet, just because I only have so much time to play even
Yeah,
new
of course.
things.
And it's a long game too.
Yeah, but I do love it. I mean, I want to pick it up eventually, but there's all that. Another re-release that I didn't get to put as much time in as I wanted to, but Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury.
I don't even think of this as a re-release because I barely touched 3D
Yeah.
World.
That is true.
And I adored Bowser's Fury.
It
Yeah.
was a good time.
It was really Bowser's Fury was kind of a fun, what it felt like a proof of concept for where Mario could go from here. And I really enjoyed it. It was just a fun kind of distraction. And it was also great just replaying 3D World with faster gameplay. I think they sped up the gameplay by like 30%.
Something
And
like that.
I already liked 3D World before, but that made all the difference. It took it from a like to a love. Like I adore 3D World now. And it's just great. It's great. And one thing I should shout out, because I didn't realize it came out on Switch, actually, I forgot. But it was multi-platform. But Guardians of the Galaxy came out this year, and I've said
Oh,
it
the
before.
cloud.
Oh,
if you
the
haven't
cloud
played this
version.
game- Oh, it was cloud, wasn't it? Okay, don't play it
Yeah.
on Switch. Never mind. But play the game anyway.
Yeah,
Play the game. It's fantastic.
I'll tell you, we got Legend of Mana. All of a sudden, we gotten a lot of Mana love from Square. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Right, Legend of Mana remaster came out. Yeah,
And out of nowhere, Miitopia. Okay.
Right.
right.
And,
Miitopia.
similar to
yeah.
Doom 64, Quake came out, and there was a brand new campaign by Machine Games, the Wolfenstein guys. That was bizarre, but great.
Who knew?
Yeah.
But yeah, don't play a cloud version of anything on Switch, folks. I forgot Guardians was a cloud version.
Don't do it.
Don't
Do
do it. Play it on any other system.
There's one
Yeah.
big game we've not really mentioned at all yet, and I think Derrick's
Of
been
course.
on the edge of his seat waiting to mention this
Yeah.
one. So,
Yeah,
I'll leave it.
I mean, it's Metroid Dread, of course.
Yeah.
This is
Of
the
course.
game, and I mean,
What a game.
it was my game of the year. It's like it supplanted another game I was super excited for, Ratchet and Clank. But it was just, I remember going back through on hard mode. I wasn't able to finish it just because I had tech issues when I was streaming it, but. Even though it was hard mode, I felt powerful because I knew what I was doing the first time, and going back and having all that moveset and having that muscle memory, it's amazing how fast the pacing is and just how good it feels to move. That is the thing that will always stick with me. Yeah.
I really enjoyed Samus Returns, so I was confident Mercury Steam could do it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't confident they'd make what could be the best game in the series. And I think they did. I don't know if it overtakes Super in my mind, but it's damn close.
I think it does in my mind. That movement is just too good, and that's something that I don't think Super Metroid can really match.
Yeah.
So it's
hard for me.
Yeah, it is still a toss-up.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pacing is
It's
remarkable.
up there for me with Super and Fusion. Like Dread is absolutely one of the best games in the series, and as you guys said, the movement, just moving through the game world and just playing as Samus feels so fulfilling and feels so empowering, and it's just she feels so organic to the environments she's in. And what a fantastic game! I'm so happy.
Probably the best final boss in the entire series.
Oh yes, no doubt.
Yeah.
I'm always a little bit harsh on Fusion. I like Fusion, but I don't like how linear it is. Like, it often says, hey, go right here, and sometimes it's not as clear as just going right there. But this game doesn't do that. There's no waypoints or anything like that. But somehow, it still flows so well. And it's not like you're always going in a straight path. It's not like the path's always clear on where you have to go. But somehow, it still feels like you're not getting lost as much. You just kind of feel intelligent knowing where to go. I think that's by design, but Super sometimes, the next place to go is on the other side of the world. And Dread occasionally does that, but there's sometimes little lifts that take you there. And it somehow just manages to flow itself from point A to point B while letting you do it. You're taking the wheel, but somehow it's drifting you through there, and it's really well done.
It is. It is. I think I liked kind of the linear turn on Metroid that they just did for one game, because it was just kind of different, and it let them focus on story in a way they hadn't before, and in a different way, I should say. Not in a way they hadn't, but in a different way. And I kind of liked that, but I agree. I wouldn't want to see the series take that direction going forward permanently, of course. But yeah, Metroid Dread is just fantastic. What else can you really say about it other than what we have? Kind of a forgettable soundtrack, but that's really the only knock against it.
That is the major
That's
knock.
literally the only knock. Yeah. I guess we should also mention, even though they were dropped in the bucket ultimately, Pokemon Shining Pearl and Brilliant Diamond.
Yeah, they were
also
filler.
happened.
I mean, I mean, we forgot to mention Pokemon Let's Go, and I feel like that has more significance than
we did.
Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl.
They felt like an obligation. Let's make these games because we do remakes. Legends was clearly the exciting one, and that wasn't in 2021. And I guess we can talk about it though, because it's in the past of the Switch. I
mean, it is. It's. I don't want to talk too much because we have, we had a full-on discussion about it, but you weren't able to take part in that one, John. So let's get your thoughts on Legends, as far as that goes.
I really like Legends. So Pokemon, I've always been on board. I've played every generation, but I felt like it's felt a bit stilted for a while. It's always been throw the Pokeball out, transition to battle, rinse and repeat, and this just seamlessly does away with all that. No longer are we going to battle screens, just throw Pokeballs out and battle in the overworld. And catching, I was skeptical of at first. I thought, will this make every Pokemon feel throwaway if we're just catching them without engaging in battle and it's so quick? But no, it's somehow catching's more fun than it's ever been. I think there's definitely a roughness to this game. It's graphically and performance-wise, it is a bit rough. Somehow, though, the skyboxes are incredible.
Oh my god!
You've got these silver skies and these rough
beautiful.
Floors. Yeah. But it just makes Pokemon feel fun and fresh again. I feel like a kid who's imagining what Pokemon's going to be like going into a field and throwing Pokemon out and just having them all around you. This is the direction the franchise needs to take, and it evidently is with Gen 9, but I was just having a lot of fun with this one, and I've not felt this hopeful about Pokemon probably since Gen 5, I guess.
I felt good about Sun and Moon.
5 or 6 for me.
Yeah. I pretty much in agreement there. The thing I think I will always carry away from Legends more than anything else was how shockingly positive the Pokemon community was. It's been years since I've seen that, where everybody kind of came around and be like, yes, this is a good game. Obviously there's some detractors out there, but the fact that it was so overwhelmingly positive in the grand scheme. Wow.
Yeah, it's just a good, fun game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I've certainly enjoyed it. One thing I can't believe, we didn't talk that much about DLC, but I couldn't let this in without saying it. 2021 was the year we got Sora and Smash. That was the biggest thing of the year.
Obviously, there's a lot of there's a lot.
Yeah.
Like, we could talk individually about most of the Smash DLC characters and how we just lost our mind at most of them. But I think it all.
Yeah, we're fitting 5 years into an hour right now. We're gonna miss some stuff.
Yeah.
2018 had Octo Expansion, had DK Adventure for Mario plus Rabbids. Like, there's lots of cool DLCs out there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and honestly, I consider Octo Expansion better than the single player of Splatoon 2.
So do I. It's great.
I agree. Yep, I agree.
It's it's amazing looking back and just seeing how many really good games are on this system. I've seen from a lot of people this might be their favorite Nintendo system ever, and the lineup is good enough to warrant that opinion. I'd have to really sit down and look at like my favorites of all time to really compare, but. Yeah.
But I also just love, I think one of my favorite things about the Switch as it exists 5 years later is how amazing the library has become in terms of getting really specific gets from various generations. Like, we've got stuff like the Grandia HD collection. You can play Grandia 1 and 2 on Switch. Mm-hmm. We're getting Klonoa this year. Like, you can play Klonoa 1 and 2 on Switch now. Like, there are so many very specific games like that from just different generations that used to be trapped in those generations that you can now play on Switch and on a handheld if you want. And I just think that's so cool.
Final Fantasy VII is on Switch.
Final Fantasy VIII remastered.
9.
Yeah.
And 10, 12,
And 10, yeah. It's so cool.
12, yeah, basically, 7 through 12 without online. Chrono Cross is coming.
Yeah. If the Switch successor isn't backwards compatible, that's unacceptable. There's so much legacy here.
We are losing so much. It needs to be backwards compatible and not have to re-download stuff since it's tied to so much of. So many people got these games digitally. That is a major issue if you have to re-download. If you got it digitally and you can't transfer it to the next system. But yeah. RPG wise, we got the first 3 Dragon Quest games on here, as you said. We need to get the others. It has to be only a matter of time until we get the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters on this system.
Oh, please.
It has to be, right?
We're getting Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake very soon.
There is so much good that this, like, again, 2022 is looking freaking brilliant as far as releases. So, system doesn't feel like it's slowing down, and I think the big reason is, like, we got those great Nintendo releases, some weird pulls that just feel so good to have those on the system. And then just solid indie and third party to support. Mm-hmm. It finally got it all, like in a way that Nintendo has not had since the SNES, at least console.
It's been a good 5 years. Thank you, Wii U, for providing a little support. You let us have some of your games.
The ports.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I like to say the Wii U crawled so the Switch could walk, or the Wii U walked so the Switch could run. I very much look at the Wii U gamepad as a prototype for the concept of what the Switch would ultimately be. And
the Wii U tripped so the Switch could jump over it and keep running.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's just, we couldn't, it's looking so strong going into its 5th year and beyond. I mean, we got a new Splatoon coming, the first ever 3D mainline Kirby game, Advance Wars 1 and 2 remake.
Yeah, Xenoblade 3.
Xenoblade 3.
Yeah.
It's
Fire Warriors. Or the new
Live Alive's another one of those bonkers ones.
Live Alive
is coming.
Like crazy.
Yeah.
The fact that the Switch does well enough and has that market, they can, like, the Square feels comfortable enough to release Mana games, Saga games, and now freaking Live Alive on the system.
And Azure Striker Gunvolt 3 is coming this year, and that's always exciting. And we have the entirety of Mega Man and X, or Classic X and Zero and ZX on the Switch in handheld. That's so cool. We're getting Shredder's Revenge this year. I know that's multi-platform, but still, Shredder's freaking Revenge. I'm so excited.
There's some weak spots. I mean, the Switch Online is still leaves a lot to be desired. The games available for that is like, but on the whole, there's a lot more positive than negative when it comes to Switch. There are problems. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at you, my dead Joy-Con butt.
I don't know when the system's gonna die, because we're getting Switch Sports this year. Yeah, and that feels like a game that revives the system rather than ends the system.
True enough.
Weirdly enough, it can't be overstated how weird this is, but we're getting new Mario Kart 8 DLC.
Yeah,
Until
until 2023.
Yeah.
Until 2023.
So guess
That's
what?
wild to me still.
The system is going to survive at least until the end of 2023. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Bayonetta
Right.
3 is still coming this
Yeah.
year.
Oh,
It's just,
man,
it's,
yeah.
The Switch is showing no signs of slowing down despite being 5 years old. As we said at the beginning, most Nintendo consoles' life cycles are about 5 years, but it feels like the Switch is just still going so
Honestly,
strong.
it's comparable to the original Game Boy that just lasted a decade.
Yeah.
We'll get the Switch color soon.
Perfect.
The Switch
Yeah.
color, exactly. Yeah.
Unbelievable. But yeah,
Wow.
what a 5 years. Obviously, there is way more out there that we didn't cover. So I'd love to see all of your favorites, games we missed, games that just meant a lot to you on the system, whether it's multi-platform or not, that you just happen to play on the Switch, because a lot of us picked the Switch version just because of that portability and that have that aspect. So yeah, what a great 5 years. And
Yeah.
here's to a likely 5 more.
Maybe.
Maybe we'll
I
see
mean,
what happens.
Especially if there's a 4K Switch, they might just keep the branding and just beef
Yeah.
up the hardware and just
Yeah.
keep it going. I'd be fine with that.
Could see it. We'll see if I have to find
Yeah.
out. But I believe that covers it for our 5 years of Switch discussion. So thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/gbgaming. But even just subscribing to the channel and ringing that bell helps us a ton. So until next time, bye.
Bye.
Bye.